Hi everybody and welcome on board our Dreamtime. We just thought we'd put together a bit of a video of 10 things that we think you need to know about before you sail off and into Indonesia.
And they may not be the things that you think you may need.
No. And they're things that we didn't necessarily know about when we left.
No.
We've been here, nearly 12 months?
Nearly 12 months. Wow. Time flies when you're having fun.
And we are absolutely loving Indonesia.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic cruising ground. The people are just wonderful. But there are things we probably wish we knew before we left. Some of them we had a good idea about, and we've found out just how important they are. Now, the biggest one that I want to talk about up front is navigation-wise. We're all using Navionics or similar. Guess what? The charts up here are a rough guide only, and I mean extremely rough.
Are they rough? I didn't even think we had some up here.
Without doubt, it's about satellite imagery. Now, there's a couple of systems that most people use. We're using SAS Planet, and another one, of course, is OpenCPN. But that allows you to download satellite imagery, and it's GPS accurate. You can often see into the water, you can see where the reefs are and everything. And we're using a little Johnny Appleseed USB plug-in GPS with our laptop.
Very important to have that.
Yeah, so with the SAS Planet or OpenCPN, it's like looking at a photographic chart. The satellite image is there, and you can see where your boat is. You can actually see the track, and when it comes down to coming into reefs or looking for an anchorage.
Yeah, very important looking for an anchorage.
Yeah.
Because anchorages, I mean, they're not marked like we have all the way up the Queensland or Australian coast. You know, people leave these lovely little anchors. Here you go, guys, anchor here, 10 metres, sand, perfect. Not here.
No, well, I mean, there is some. There's some on Zulu waterways and things like no foreign land, etc.
Unless you go where we go.
But if you go into the more remote areas, etc., like we are at the moment in Sulawesi, you've got very little to go on, and we'll decide we want to go to an island. You download the satellite imagery, and you'll go around the coast looking for potential anchorages. And that's really the way we've found most of ours soon as we go off the beaten path.
Yeah. So how do you learn to use these? There's a number of YouTubes out there that actually do it.
Yeah, we'll recommend one.
We will recommend one, and we'll put it in the link down the bottom. This guy taught us how to do it.
Yep.
He's used it all the way around Australia and into some very remote areas where they've gone. And
it's Sailing No Regrets.
That's right, Sailing No Regrets. Thank you very much.
So we'll put a link up in the corner for the YouTube on how to install and use the SAS Planet. If you'd prefer to use OpenCPN, that's not a problem. Once again, there are hundreds of YouTubes on how to use it. But whatever you do, have a look at them both. Choose one. Get the gear, get the little GPS dongle that you plug into USB, and learn how to use it while you're still in your home waters with good charts.
Yeah.
Have a look, have a play, and just get used to using it, because I would be petrified now sailing in these remote areas of Indonesia without it. I know the early Dutch explorers and all that didn't have it, but they also lost a lot of boats.
They did.
And we can't afford to lose one.
No. So we used it all the way up the Queensland coast as a practice run and into Indo, and it worked really well.
And another one on the navigation side, I guess,
is the handheld depth gauge. Now, we couldn't get this in Australia. We had to order it from the US. We've had it for a few years, and we've used it in Australia as well as extensively here in Indo. It's just a simple little unit that gives us, being that it's American, it's feet, but it's simple enough to actually change into meters. But to get into some of these anchorages, there are coral shelves for you to go over. there's 60 metres on the other side and there's 10 metres on the inside, but you have to get over that coral shelf to get in there. And we've been using this little beauty. It's been wonderful.
Simple. We just put the dinghy down.
Yep.
Karen circles around in the mothership. I go in the dinghy, put it in the water, pull the switch back, and it tells you how deep it is in feet. So I can actually go and survey a way across the reef. The water's so clear.
Yeah.
I'm there in the dinghy sometimes and I think we've got no chance here. It's about 3 foot deep. And I use this and find out that we've actually got like 15, 16, 4 or 5 metres.
Yeah, of clear water.
Of clear water. And inside is a beautiful lagoon, sand bottom, 7 or 8 metres, fantastic anchoring.
Yeah.
Now, this is a Hawkeye.
Yep.
Hawkeye depth tracks. And as Karen said, she found it on Amazon. We ordered it from the US. It wasn't all that expensive. Just takes normal batteries, looks like a flashlight. You put it in the water, pull the switch up. It will tell you the depth. And another pull, it will tell you the water temperature.
You don't want to know the water temperature up here. It's very warm.
And it's American, so you do get feet. And in temperature is Fahrenheit. The water up here is normally around 89 to 92 degrees Fahrenheit.
You don't want to know. It's like a hot bath.
But yeah, absolutely so useful. Yeah. It is unbelievable and it's cheap. Another one. This is one we didn't know about. Didn't think of. Your outboard up here. Your dinghy is like always, it's your car, it's your transport. And you may have heard that Indonesia is full of rubbish in the water. Well, we came here first sailing in 2011 and it was really bad. Really bad.
Yeah.
Now it's just bad.
It's getting much better.
It is getting much better. We're seeing the evidence in the towns of there is a degree of rubbish collection, there are education programs, but there's still an enormous amount of rubbish in the water.
Yep.
And the worst thing is big, heavy plastic bags. They don't necessarily float on the surface. They're below the water at about sail drive depth for cats and a lot of monos.
Or props for...
Or props. The dinghy, the outboard. Now this prop was on our 9.9 Mercury. It has a rubber bush in there to the spline, and the idea is that if you hit something hard, you're not going to go breaking the shaft. It will just slip that rubber bush, and of course once it's slipped, it's not as hard, it's not as tight, and it'll keep slipping, and progressively you'll end up as if you've got a stuffed transmission. You rev it, but the prop hardly turns around. Now we wrapped a bag around this.
It was just simply a bag,
and that's exactly what it did. It spun that rubber hub in there. We then couldn't put the outboard under full load. We had to creep everywhere at low RPM until we had a friend flying in from Australia who we organised to bring a prop. To source one of these here in Southeast Asia, forget it.
Yeah, and to get it posted, there's import, there's
it's very difficult to get parts
into Indo.
So you need a good spare parts inventory for your boat, but do not forget at least one spare propeller for your outboard. Now this one isn't totally unserviceable. Like I say, if we use low revs and don't put it under heavy load, it still works. We've put the new one on the dinghy. We're hanging on to this one for a spare in case that one gets clagged hitting a reef or getting a bad bag or something. And at the first opportunity, we will get another new spare.
Yeah.
Now, genuine Mercury, they cost a fortune, but I think it was the Propeller Warehouse.
Propeller Warehouse. We'll put the link in.
I think it was about $110. What an investment. I would have 2 on board. I'd have 2 spares without a question.
Yep.
It is because without your dinghy, you're going to do without your outboard, you're going to do a lot of rowing, and quite often you are anchoring a long way from where you need to go.
Yeah. So the next one brings us to cleaning. Hate cleaning, but no, we all have to clean, and one of the key things that we always use on a boat is vinegar, and double strength vinegar is available everywhere in Australia. It is not available here in Indonesia at all. So it's okay if you want to use hard chemicals, because you can buy hard chemicals, harsh, hard chemicals here in Indo, no problem at all either. They have them all. They have rows of bleaches. They have rows of ammonium, everything. But come to double strength vinegar, which we use to clean stainless steel, which we use in the toilets to make sure that the systems are nice and clean.
Yeah, so we don't get the calcium build up in the headlines,
and
etc.
it doesn't hurt, obviously, the macerators, being vinegar, of course, bleaches, all those sorts of things do. So if you are one of those people like us that like to look after the environment and that you want to bring in vinegar, bring in plenty of double strength vinegar and baking soda along with it so you can do your cleaning.
Yeah, you can find baking soda at a few.
Yes.
At a few outlets.
Well, we've found twice so far.
But white vinegar's been impossible.
Yep.
And of course, white vinegar.
Double strength white vinegar.
Yeah, the cleaning vinegar.
You can get every other sort of vinegar.
Yes. But we use it for wiping down surfaces to avoid mould and everything.
Yes.
In the monsoon season here, mould is an issue.
Yeah, and all we did when we needed to do our visa run was I wiped down everything with vinegar, and we came back to no mould whatsoever.
The only problem is we are now down to, I think, half a bottle of cleaning vinegar.
Anyone coming? We need double strength vinegar.
And fill up your suitcase.
Yep,
yeah, that'll be good.
Double strength vinegar. I'd love to see what customs says about that one.
Okay, another one that people don't think about too much quite often is one of the best ways to go sightseeing up here, or even just to get around, is to just go and hire a motor scooter or a motorcycle.
They're so cheap, aren't they?
They are so cheap. You'll be paying $5 a day, or quite often, $5-10 a day, and that's about it.
And you fill them up, and
they run on the smell of an oily rag. We went all over Wakatobi on a motorcycle.
We've hired
I don't think I got
everywhere.
over 45 kilometres an hour.
No.
But the fact is, it's still a motorcycle. And if you do not have a motorcycle licence, it doesn't matter what travel insurance you have.
It'll be not
wiped.
covered.
If you don't have a motorcycle
Same
licence,
with your medical insurance.
even though it's a small motor scooter, you will find yourself not covered. We made sure with our travel insurance, which we got through Topsail, that we were covered for motorcycling with a licensed rider. Now, I've got a motorcycle license. I've had one for years. But even, if you don't have a motorcycle license, it's worth thinking about just going and getting the initial, the 251, the limited one, whatever.
I mean,
so
you're hiring nothing over 250 here.
No.
They're all scooters.
So you can legally hire a motorcycle and be covered by travel insurance. Plenty of people just come and get them, but you hear the horror stories. If there is an accident, it's a big problem. So that's a key one for us. If you're even thinking about using a motor scooter, make sure you've got a motorcycle license and check very, very closely your travel insurance, whether it covers you for motorcycling or not.
Our next one is sunscreen. Now,
simple. Who would have thought of that?
Yeah, of course, we live on a boat. Of course we have sunscreen. But it is really hard to get here in Indonesia, and it is extremely expensive. A small tube is going to set you back 15 Australian dollars. So with the amount of sunscreen we have on board this boat and the amount of sunscreen we use on a daily basis, it is worthwhile to buy your big pump bottles and bring them in, because they just don't use it here, and you can only get it at the
If you have a look at the locals, I mean, they're naturally dark-skinned. They don't have the tendency to burn and suffer from melanoma like we do, but they still cover up entirely. But they don't use sunscreen. And it's you'll buy it in the tourist areas, but as Karen said, for a tiny tube, you'll pay 15 odd Australian dollars for a tiny tube.
One of these, the little ones that are your day pack ones. So bring in sunscreen.
Right, here's one, a good trolley. Yes. We've got both types. The good old granny shopping trolley,
which I love, and to go to the markets, because it's normally a fair walk to the markets. It's absolutely brilliant.
But the big one here is there are no fuel docks.
No.
Don't think you're going to pull up on a dock, put a Bowser over and fill the tanks on your boat.
No.
There are zero fuel docks. You have to use jerry cans. Now we have 8 jerry cans on deck. I'm using 6 of those for diesel, which is referred to here as DEX or DEX Lite. They have solar, but that's a really low-grade biofuel,
Eco
and
fuel.
you don't want to be using it. It's cheap as chips, but you don't want to use it. DEX Lite is fine in most simple injected diesel engines. If you've got a single rail turbo and all of the latest, you might want to be chasing the higher grade DEX itself. But there are no fuel docks. The service stations aren't always conveniently on the shore side.
No.
You quite often have to go long distances to get that diesel. Here, where we are at the moment, it's about a 2-block walk.
Nice.
Which is as convenient as we've had.
But you still have to pull that trolley.
So unless you're going to hire a car,
which gets expensive,
you're going to use a four-wheel trolley.
Yep.
Now we picked one up. Oh, it looked great. Cheap from Repco.
Yeah.
First time we put 3 full jerry cans in it, the wheels went like this like that.
Make sure those axles are nice.
And it tracks like this, and it's almost impossible to tow.
Especially when it's loaded.
And our friends Daniel and Emma on our buddy boat Lola B at the moment, they have a different brand, I think came from BCF or one of those places, a Dira trolley, and guess what? It will carry 4 jerrys, four full jerry cans, so 80 litres of fuel, and it's so simple to pull. So don't buy a cheap one. Go and buy the Dira collapsible 4-wheel trolley. You'll not only use it for diesel, but quite often
for laundry, for I mean, we use it for everything.
There's laundry services.
Yes.
And they're a long time in between. So we'll quite often turn up with 30 kilos of laundry.
Washing. Yeah.
And that's, if you're going to hang that over your back and walk it there, that's hard work.
Yeah.
Particularly in the heat up here.
Yeah. You just won't do it.
And the beauty of it is we're paying our latest lot, I think, is
70 cents a kilo for your washing to be washed, dried, folded immaculately, and placed in these plastic bags.
packaged.
I can't explain to you how they get them in there because I can't.
As soon as you open it up,
they go.
But a trolley, absolute must. That was our number 7. Number 8 on our
is
10
a
top.
very, very important one. We all need cash, and especially in this country. This country works on cash. Very rarely...
They're piles of cash.
Very rarely can you use a credit card. You may be able to use a credit card at resorts for diving and all that sort of thing, but they also whack on a pretty significant percentage.
Never less than 5% surcharge for a card. Not just credit card.
Any card.
Any debit card, anything. As soon as it's a card, a minimum of a 5% surcharge.
So it's really important that you sort out how you're going to get cash before you leave Australia. And you need a number of ways to get it. Why? Because ATMs are very hard to come by unless you're in pretty major towns or cities. Then when you actually get to one of those ATMs, they have limits. And some of them you can only get $100 out at a time. So if you're needing to fuel the boat and you're needing $400, you're going to that ATM regularly to get it out, and you're going to...
It's $100 limit per day.
That's correct.
Not per transaction,
per day. Because they're $100 here, 100 Australian dollars, and we'll equate that for our Americans as well and Europeans, but 100 Australian dollars is 1 million, and sometimes it comes out as blocks of money like this. So their ATMs are no bigger than ours. The key is they can't put enough cash into these to actually give you bigger amounts. So ATMs are limited. They're also limited on the amount you can get out, and quite often they're out of order.
And the other thing is, if you just rock over here just expecting to use one, with we won't name the bank, but just one of the big Australian banks, we go in, we can only withdraw ₹1,000,000, which is just under 100 Australian dollars. And the fee from our bank was $9.
Oh, no, Rob. $12.50.
Oh, I'm sorry.
$12.50 for $100.
Yeah.
So even if you have a number of free per month that you get with some banks, they get chewed up pretty quickly and they add on these extra international fees.
Okay.
So how else do we get cash? So we also use Wise. Wise is a really good one for us to put money from our bank account into a Wise account that we can then transfer into another international account. As per our agent needs to be paid, we can transfer directly from the Wise account into his account without any major fees involved with that way. You can get a Wise card, which is fabulous, but you're back down to that ATM thing by using the Wise card.
Travelex is another one. You can get a Travelex travel card.
Yep,
the beauty of that is you can only, you can't get scammed for any more than's on the card.
That's correct. And the same with the Wise. You can only get scammed for how much you put onto the card. But you are back to that ATM thing. The one that we've found has been absolutely brilliant. We've only had one problem when a system was down. So for the whole time for, near on a year is Western Union. Western Union is that old backpackers. You used to use Western Union when you went backpacking and Mum would send you some money through Western Union. You'd go into the post office, you'd tell them your name, give them your, passport and the number that good old Mum had sent you, and guess what? The money's there. The same thing happens here. You can transfer in from your own bank account into your own Western Union, walk into any post office, and post offices are everywhere in Indonesia. Walk in with the code, with your passport, they hand over the block of cash for you.
Yeah, I mean,
and the fees are very low.
We've got over $1,000 in the transaction.
Yeah, over 2,000.
Yeah. Without a problem.
Times, yep.
And the fees and exchange rate are far better than the banks.
Yeah, the exchange rate has been absolutely brilliant. We can't complain about it. And the fees, even on a $2,000 lot, which was 20 million, Rob was a bit concerned that the post office wouldn't have 20 million there, and they certainly did. It was $4.
Yep.
Brilliant.
So, money-wise, do a bit of homework.
Yes.
Google Wise.
Yeah.
WISE. Wise. Travelex. And Western Union. Just have a look at them and make your own decisions, but have more than one way to get cash.
Because you can be stranded.
As Karen said, we came into a post office and they had an IT issue down.
Yep.
And it was down for days.
They were so concerned that they couldn't give us our money. But in the end, they worked it out. They actually just got me to sign a piece of paper that said that I took the money and they were going to sort it in-house later.
Yeah. So just do your homework.
Yeah.
Another thing up here is long lines. Oh,
that's not long line fishing. No, you get no fish here. Sorry.
Ropes. Ropes.
Don't worry about the fishing gear. You'll get no fish.
We anchor deep here. We've got 110 metres of chain on our Dreamtime, but we still go to a lot of places where it's deep. What we can do is we can come in, we'll anchor in 25 metres of water and then run a shoreline. I think the longest we had was nearly 40 metres to shore, tied to a rock, and then with the line out, it's just like med mooring. You've got the anchor out front, you've got plenty of chain out, you back up to a boat length from the fringing reef, and then go across the fringing reef in your dinghy, tie off to a rock or a tree on the shore, and then you don't swing. You can be in one of these tight little lagoons.
Yes, with a number of boats.
And, our buddy boat and us will go in and we'll park. We'll parallel park with each other. Shorelines back there. If you're considering Raja Ampat, that's an absolute must.
Anywhere here in Sulawesi.
Anywhere in Sulawesi.
Yep.
As soon as you're getting off that major...
What we call the coconut run.
The coconut run, up across Flores, Sumbawa, Bali, and then on to Malaysia. You will want a number of
Yep.
nice long lines. You want to be able to go at least 50 metres, I guess, from your boat. It doesn't have to be a single line. We're using some old halyards
Yeah.
tied together when we need to and get across, but you've got to make sure you've got them and we'll be prepared to use them and get used to the idea of dropping your anchor, backing up towards that fringing reef, and then
Dropping the dinghy.
take the line ashore, put it on your winch, and then on your sheet winch, and you can tighten the boat round, and then take up a little bit of anchor chain until it's tight fore and aft, and you'll be nice and secure. Good night's sleep, and stay there for days.
I think we have anchored like that 95% of the time since we've been here in Sulawesi.
In Sulawesi, yeah.
Or even more.
Yeah.
I think we've swung, well, we're swinging here in a harbour, but
yeah,
that's about it, isn't
Most
it?
of the places we've been in here in Sulawesi, we've been using stern lines, and we get comfortable with it. We actually feel more secure. And the beauty of it is we can actually arrange our anchor and stern lines so that our bow is facing any little wave action that might be happening,
wind,
and you don't roll.
You don't.
Okay, the last of our 10.
The next one, which will sound like we're absolutely desperados, but the last one is alcohol. Now, legally, you're only allowed to bring 1 litre per person into Indonesia. However, we have bilges that we can put alcohol in, and we have never heard of anybody being searched for alcohol. No. We even opened up our cocktail cabinet for customs when they came on board, when we checked in at Kayaksel, and they were quite impressed that we had quite a number of different bottles of alcohol that were all opened and had some out of them. So they were interested in what some of them were. Never, ever asked for any alcohol off us. We haven't had anyone ask for alcohol since we've been here.
Now, we literally bought many dozen bottles of wine with us.
We did.
And we're subtle, you've got to be subtle.
Yeah.
They're all under the floor in storage spaces, under the couches, etc. They asked us, do we have alcohol? I said, absolutely. As Karen said, I opened the cocktail cabinet, far more than a litre in there.
Yes.
But they had a look and went, oh, many bottles are open. I said, yes, we drink alcohol when we anchor at places. And he said, okay, drink it on the boat, don't take it ashore.
Don't take it ashore.
And that's all they request, is don't take it ashore.
Don't take it ashore, especially in this is a Muslim country. It will be very difficult for you to find alcohol anyway to purchase. So that's the key here. We have actually even gone to Chinese shops with a driver who only knew where to go. They've actually wrapped the boxes and taken them out to the car because alcohol isn't seen to be something they should be selling. So if you do like a little tipple,
spirits in Indonesia are extremely expensive. Wine is crazy expensive. You'll pay $40 for a bottle that you'll buy at Dan Murphy's in Australia for $6.
Yep.
If you can find it. And that'll only be in the tourist areas. So spirits and wine are very expensive here. No problem bringing it, just be subtle.
Yes.
So yes, I have alcohol, show them some alcohol, don't go pulling up all the floors. Of all the boats we know that have come through, none have ever been searched. So it's really not an issue, just be sensible.
Yes.
You'll buy beer here. We're actually currently in a predominantly Muslim town. They still have beer available in the supermarket.
Yep.
The beer, my memory of beer in Indonesia was it was very cheap. In actual fact now, the beer is about the same price as Australia.
Yep.
And like I say, spirits and wine are just crazy expensive. So,
beer you will get,
you'll get beer,
but you'll still have to hunt for it.
Yeah.
It's not readily on the shelf everywhere that you go, and nowhere will you go to dinner and find drinks available.
No, other than Bali or
your tourist areas,
Bali,
of
Lombok,
course.
Labuan Bajo.
But even Lombok, there were places, many places that
there's
you
only the
had
key larger
tourists,
resorts.
Yeah.
So we're not saying put a few pallet loads of beer on your boat.
Well, maybe you
can get beer here.
Yes.
You need to hunt around for it
Yeah.
sometimes, and as Karen says, in some of the heavily dominated Muslim-dominated areas, you won't see it. You might have to ask your guide or driver, and you may pay over the odds.
Yes.
I mean, we've seen cruisers paying over $90
For a carton
of 24 cans of beer.
Wow. That's not on our budget.
And I think that's getting desperate.
Yeah.
But yeah, mostly you can get it.
Yep.
It's not the most essential part of cruising, but it's nice to have a sundowner.
No, and that's right. If it's best that we actually talk about it, then someone come in and say, we could get beer everywhere. You can't.
So they are 10 and 10 only.
Yeah.
There are others, but they're ones we thought that we'd talk about. I mean, some people probably hadn't thought of, like me.
And sunscreen.
Sunscreen you'd expect to be able to pick up everywhere.
Yep.
Just another one to think about, prescription medication.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, our doctor went and Googled the various medications that I take for blood pressure and Karen takes for other reasons. Yes, they're available in Indonesia. They may be in large capital cities.
They're not everywhere else.
It is really difficult for us to get our prescription medication. They don't stock big quantities of it. We're saying, we're on a boat, can I get 3 months supply? And they say, I have a week. And that's what they'll have in their pharmacy, their apothec. So
that's because people can't afford to buy medication like we
they just don't have that.
They don't have it, no.
So I probably just gave you number 11. But yeah, our big 10, and check out your medication, have a talk to your doctor and see how much you can bring with you. Try and bring it all with you.
That's us.
Okay, so we hope that's been helpful. Any questions, pop them in the comments and we will try and provide the additional information.
So yeah, if you think there's something else that we should have listed here, put it down below and we'll let you know where we've been able to get it or if we haven't been able to. See you guys.
And make sure you check out that Sailing No Regrets for the information on the satellite imaging for navigation.
Yep.
And it is a game changer. For those still here, thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. We really do appreciate it and hope you found our tips useful. We also hope you can take a look at our other videos in the Dreamtime in Indonesia series and follow along with us on our crazy adventures.